Hello friends, we are doing glossophobia and we have seen that what is glossophobia? Fear of public speaking. It is a kind of mental disorder, you can say, psychological disorder, but there are certain ways to reduce, to control glossophobia. If we discuss glossophobia, it is also called social anxiety disorder. So what is this social anxiety disorder in detail? Social anxiety disorder or social phobia is a persistent and overwhelming fear of social situations which is much more than shyness. It is not shyness. If you have this disorder, you often worry about being negatively judged by others and you feel very self-conscious in social situations. It can be debilitating because simple everyday activities can become a burden. Well, you may dread everyday activities such as meeting new people, talking in groups or starting conversations, speaking on the telephone, working, speaking to people in authority, public speaking, eating or drinking with company, shopping, using public toilets, and so many. The fear and anxiety is not in proportion to the actual threat of the situation. Social anxiety can stop you from doing the things you want to do. It is an invasive disorder which causes fear in most areas of a person's life. It often starts during childhood or adolescence and is frequently linked to low self-esteem. People with social anxiety understand that their fear is irrational, but their anxiety persists. This is even though you may be confronting your fears on a daily basis when, for example, you have to make phone calls for work. Well, there are other things like your perception. Others may think people with social anxiety are cold, shy, quiet, unfriendly, sometimes uninterested. Even though you want to make friends and be more involved in social activities, your social anxiety may be stopping you. Now, what are the symptoms of social anxiety? Cognitive symptoms related to brain. Embarrassing yourself in front of others. All the things that could go wrong at an anticipated social event. Being criticized or made fun of. Being negatively judged. Others realizing how anxious you are. Your physical symptoms being visible. Sounding boring, stupid, incompetent. You have a negative view of yourself that you worry others will see, and a feeling of being rejected. Speaking to people in authority, you may believe these people are superior and you are inferior. The social situation excessively beforehand. This can even be weeks before. Upsetting, offending other people. The social situation afterwards, you may pick apart a social situation and judge your performance. You repeatedly think about what you did wrong and what you should have done. For example, why did I say that? That is such an embarrassing thing to say. I should not have commented. Being center of attention. People watching you, for example, when you walk into a busy staff room. Physical symptoms, what are these? The physical symptoms of social anxiety are the same as general anxiety because the same stress response is triggered. When we feel anxious, our bodies release stress hormones including cortisol and adrenaline. This is the body's way of preparing us to respond to a perceived threat or danger, such as braking immediately when somebody walks out in front of your car. These hormones produce physically unpleasant symptoms, such as an increased heart rate and muscle tension. It is thought that this response has an evolutionary background because it would have been beneficial in prehistoric environments and it is useful in dangerous situations. But when you have social anxiety, social situations are perceived as threats, so this response can be set off frequently and easily, which then means it is a problem because there is no actual danger. Now, what are the emotional symptoms of social anxiety? We talk of social anxiety syndrome. Anxious, fearful, nervous, scared, insecure, self-conscious, vulnerable, embarrassed. Behavioral symptoms. Avoidance of feared situations such as avoiding eating out and leaving jobs that require public speaking. Social withdrawal. Misuse of drugs or alcohol to try to reduce anxiety. Avoiding eye contact. Lacking assertiveness. Impaired work performance and underachievement. Leaving, escaping from social situations quickly. Engaging in safely behaviors. These are behaviors that make you feel safe in situations such as wearing makeup to hide your blush, bringing a friend with you to parties, not saying anything. Problems with interpersonal relationships. What causes social anxiety disorder? As with many mental health conditions, social anxiety disorder is most probably the result of a combination of genetic and environmental factors. Anxiety disorders often run in families if we talk of genetic. So you are more likely to have social anxiety disorder if a close family member is affected. However, the exact nature of the relationship between genetics and learned behavior is uncertain. Parenting style, this is a very important aspect. Very important aspect to have social anxiety. The behavior of parents may also have an influence on whether their child will develop social anxiety disorder. If you have anxious parents or parents that worry a lot, it can often affect your ability to cope with anxiety during childhood, adolescence, and adulthood. People with social anxiety disorder often describe their parents as overprotective, not affectionate enough, constantly criticizing them and worrying they may do something wrong, overemphasizing the importance of manners and grooming, exaggerating the danger of approaching a stranger. Well, there are certain points among which early negative experience is very important. Social events in your early life may have triggered the social anxiety. For example, bullying, abuse, embarrassment during a social situation, such as forgetting the words in a speech and hearing others laugh at you due to this. You may worry that similar social situations will produce the same outcome, so you begin to avoid and fear them. The more a situation is avoided, the more scared you will be of that situation and similar situation. Next one is evolutionary theory. Humans are social species who needs to spend time with other humans, so they don't want to upset others and risk being rejected. Individuals with social anxiety may be overly sensitive to being perceived negatively due to the risk and consequences of rejection, such as loneliness and depression. What stops us overcoming social anxiety? Sometimes people become more confident as they become older, and so they overcome their social anxiety, but with others it can be persistent. Long-term beliefs. If you have been socially anxious for many years, it is likely that you have long-term beliefs that you are bad in social situations. But research has suggested that people with social anxiety have the same social skills as others, but they don't believe this. Avoidance. Individuals with social anxiety avoid situations they fear. If they are unable to completely avoid it, they will try to leave the situation as soon as they can. This avoidance is a main preventive factor in overcoming the disorder, because when you avoid situations, you do not give yourself the chance of disproving your predictions and learning that you can cope and even have a positive experience. The longer you avoid something, the more fearful you become of it. By staying in a feared situation for longer, anxiety decreases after a while. Your body cannot continuously produce the physical symptoms. It becomes tired. Focusing on yourself. In a social situations, you may monitor your physical symptoms, because individuals with social anxiety generally believe that they are the center of everyone's attention, and they have a strong negative image of themselves in their mind of how they look to others. For example, you may be trying to work out whether your shaking is noticeable or whether you're blushing too much. However, this self-focus actually increases your anxiety. That is self-obsessed. It also means that you won't be focusing on the conversation, which makes it harder to contribute, thus subsequently reinforcing your beliefs that you are no good in social situation. Fear of fear. You may think that you will be anxious in certain social situations, and so you predict your symptoms. For example, I know I will shake. These thoughts will increase your anxiety beforehand, which may subsequently cause the feared symptoms and strengthen your fear of future similar situations. Safety behaviors. As mentioned earlier, safety behaviors make you feel safe in situations. For example, you may not speak or speak quietly or speak less. Bring a friend with you to events you feel anxious about. Pretend to be on your phone. Drink more alcohol than usual. Hide visible signs of anxiety, such as wearing makeup to hide your blush. Avoid sharing personal information, perhaps by asking the other person lots of questions, etc. Safety behaviors may be beneficial in the short term, but in the long term, they prevent you from learning that you can cope in a situation because you think your success was due to the safety behavior. I only coped because of the amount of alcohol I drank. This means that your confidence and self-esteem won't be any better. Now, there are certain techniques for overcoming social anxiety. First, you understand or locate your social anxiety and the cause. To learn how to manage your social anxiety, first you must understand it. This can be done by monitoring the situations that make you anxious and writing down in a diary. Who, what, where, and when. The time and date. Your thoughts and any images that come to mind, emotions, physical symptoms, your reactions, including any safety behaviors. Challenging unhelpful thoughts. Individuals with anxiety disorder tend to have negative thoughts about themselves and negative predictions about future social events. For example, no one will talk to me. I will have nothing to say. These thoughts should be challenged as they are often formed using incorrect assumptions. Then ask yourself whether you are experiencing any of these unhelpful thinking style. That is catastrophizing. Predicting the worst possible outcome. If I do badly in this presentation, they will fire me. Predictive thinking. Assuming you know what is going to happen in a future social situation. Everyone will notice me shaking and think I am pathetic. This will make you even more anxious before the situation. Mind reading, assuming you know what others are thinking even though you have no factual evidence. Everyone thought I was embarrassing. Magnification and minimization. Unfairly magnifying the negative and minimizing the positive. After a networking event, an individual is dwelling on the thought, I really couldn't get my words out when I spoke to Mr. X. And they are ignoring the fact that they spoke with lots of other people confidently. Focusing only on most negative aspects of a situation whilst filtering out the positive features. For instance, in the example above, the individual may have filtered the information so they can only remember the conversation that they perceived as negative. So, mental filter is very important. Personalization. Assuming that others are behaving negatively because of you. Rohan has not said much to me today. I must have upset him, or they are all laughing. They must be laughing about me. If something bad has happened once, you believe it will happen every time. That presentation I did went badly, all my presentation will go badly. This is a kind of overgeneralization. Leveling. Leveling yourself or others without fully considering the evidence. I am boring. Well, these are generally beliefs you have had about yourself for years. Emotional reasoning, mistaking your anxious feelings for facts. I feel really nervous, so I must be in a danger. These thinking style confirm that you don't view yourself fairly in social situation. You must manage your core belief. Sometimes it may be more difficult to believe a new balanced thought. This may be due to a core belief at the base of the unhelpful thought. Core beliefs are strongly held and inflexible beliefs regarding how we see ourselves, others, the world, and the future. For example, I must be perfect to be liked. Being anxious is not acceptable. Everyone must like me. I am unlovable. When you have core beliefs, you tend to focus on the information supporting it and ignore the evidence against it. Identify your core beliefs. With your unhelpful thought, ask, what is bad about that? And what does that say about me? Continue to ask these questions until you uncover the core belief. Challenge your core belief. You can challenge core beliefs similarly to think challenging by asking, what experiences do I have to show that this belief is not always true? With this evidence, develop an alternative core belief. As aforementioned, when you are socially anxious, you monitor your physical symptoms because you are worried that others will notice, and this consequently increases your anxiety. So, reduce your self-focus. Well, you may control yourself by concentrate on what is happening around you rather than focusing on yourself. Look at others involved in conversation and at your surrounding. Really listen to the conversation you are participating in. Remember that your physical symptoms are not as visible and obvious as you believe. By focusing less on your body, you will stop noticing these symptoms. Don't feel like you have to keep the conversation going. Others will get involved if they have to, and there is no problem with silence. Recognize that you don't need to perform perfectly in all social interactions. This would be exhausting, and no one is able to do this. Look at others to see if you can notice whether they are anxious. It is likely that others around you are also anxious, and it is unlikely that you will be able to tell. Remember that lots of people with anxiety disorder think to themselves, why am I only one that can't cope? It is because the symptoms are never as visible as the individual thinks. Even if you are visibly anxious, it doesn't mean that people will perceive you negatively. Think about whether you would judge someone negatively just because they look anxious. If it is a no, then try to believe that others don't dislike you for it. Recognize that everyone is not focusing on you. The best way to reduce your fear of social situations is to gradually face them. Remember that if you stay in a situation long enough without engaging in safety behaviors, your anxiety will gradually decrease. If we confront the same situation repeatedly, the amount of anxiety experiencing continually decreases, and it decreases quicker each time. To confront your feared social situations, you must create an exposure hierarchy. An exposure hierarchy is a list of social situations that would cause various degrees of anxiety. You start by facing the least anxiety-provoking situation in the hierarchy and work your way up as your anxiety decreases for each situation. This allows you to build up your confidence slowly. Now, there are certain steps to decrease your social anxiety. Identify the situation that make you anxious, that you may avoid. List your safety behaviors as well. Avoiding delivering presentation, speaking at meeting, attending parties. Safety behavior. Avoiding eye contact, pretending to be on my phone, drinking more liquid. You may have more than one fear, so first identify one specific goal to work on. I want to be able to deliver presentation at the team meeting and answer questions while being able to maintain eye contact with the audience. This person has decided to tackle their fear of delivering work presentation first, and they also want to address the safety behavior of avoiding eye contact at the same time. Rank the situations relevant to the goal from the least anxiety provoking to the most anxiety provoking. To do this, rate how anxious each situation make you from 0 to 100. 0 is relaxed, 25 mild level of anxiety, 50 medium levels of anxiety, 75 high level of anxiety, 100 severe level of anxiety. This is the scale you can use. Treating social anxiety disorder in adult, research has shown that without treatment, social anxiety is a chronic condition. But only around half the adult with it seek treatment, and when they do, it is usually after 15-20 years of experience the symptom. It is likely this is because they are scared of being judged by a professional, believe that this cannot get better, lack of information about treatments. Virtual reality. Virtual reality can be a great way to experience social situations in the safety of your own home. The technology immerses you in realistic environment where you can practice speaking to crowds, answering questions to panel members, standing on podiums in front of hundreds of people, and many other situations. Virtual speech, a virtual reality app can help you to become more comfortable in social situations such as meeting or speaking at conference. Cognitive behavioral therapy. Cognitive behavioral therapy is one of the most effective treatments for social anxiety disorder. Generally, cognitive behavioral therapy works by helping you to identify unhelpful and unrealistic beliefs and behavioral patterns. You and your therapist work together to change your behavior and replace unhelpful belief with more realistic and balanced one. Cognitive behavioral therapy teaches new skills and helps you to understand how to react more positively to the situations that would usually cause you anxiety. If you wish to try a different physiological or psychological therapy, you may be offered supported self-help. This could be in the form of cognitive behavioral therapy based program to try over 3 to 4 months. One of the most widely used self-help therapy for people with anxiety or phobia is Fear Fighter, which is available on the website. Well, I mentioned once Toastmaster organization also, so it is important to define what is Toastmaster all about. Toastmaster is one of the best learned by doing educational forum for communicating and leadership. The tagline of Toastmaster is where leaders are made. There are many other things Toastmasters offer, but I believe the unique selling property of Toastmaster is that it gives you an environment to practice and make mistakes without any penalty. Usually, we pay a big penalty when we mess up during a presentation, whether it is in front of social circle or business colleague. But Toastmaster is more like a workshop or training ground. And the format of Toastmaster is like communication, leadership, humorous, table topic evaluation, international speech, content. So friend, these are some of the important points which can make you a confident speaker, a confident communicator, but for that you should have knowledge of all these and also to practice the remedies to overcome all these problems. So goodbye, have a nice day, and practice and practice and practice to be a perfect speaker. Thank you very much.